Do hackathons sound scary? Don't worry, you are not alone. It could be that you have never before participated to a hackathon, or that you feel that your coding skills are lacking, or you think that you do not have any good ideas, or that the idea that you might have, it's not the next big thing after 5G. Anyway, whatever is the reason why you are scared, let's put those fears aside for the rest of this webinar. Instead, listen to our stories about why you should not be scared and why you should attend to the hackathons and how you can get most out of them. In this way, by the end of this webinar, you should realize that hackathons are nothing to be scared about, but rather a place to enable us to concentrate on something we are passionate about with like-minded people. It can be that you are passionate about coding or even hacking, but your passion can also be something totally different. You might want to learn about new methodologies or about new tools. You might want to improve ways of working or design new team building activities. Everything goes, as hackathons give us time to innovate, time to experiment, time to concentrate, and time to learn. Let's now learn more about our hackathon culture at Ericsson. But before going there, let us introduce who we are. As today you will hear voices of many people, when we all will share our own hackathon stories. So my name is Outi Väättänen, and I am a Lean and Agile coach at Ericsson Finland. And together with me, I have Antti, Kusman, Päivi, Jani, Holger, and Raquel. You will hear more from them later on. But now, finally, it's actually time to start. Let's first concentrate on the traditional hackathons, as that was our starting point. To grow something, you first need to have a seed. With our stories, we will tell how our hackathon culture has grown since we planted the original seed. It was actually planted already in April 2013, when 10 pioneers from Ericsson Finland gathered to work on 4 different ideas in what would be our first ever hackathon. It was a small-scale event, but a great start for our hackathon culture. In November the same year, the first ever Ericsson multi-country hackathon took place. It was already our first hackathon that year. This time, we invited some of our colleagues from Hungary and Croatia to participate. The visitors were excited about the event, and who wouldn't be? At the same time, the other Ericsson offices were having their own hackathons locally. Finally, in 2015, we joined forces and had the first Ericsson Global Hackathon. Altogether, 14 Ericsson offices from Europe, Asia, and Americas joined. Almost 350 participants hacked around the theme Fix Your World and came up with 100 ideas to fix our world. Nowadays, we have Ericsson Global Hackathons twice a year. In the biggest ever hackathon so far, we had over 600 participants around the world hacking on over 200 ideas, a truly inspiring effort. But let's go to the personal stories. Antti, would you like to tell how it has been to participate to our internal hackathons?
Definitely. Hi everyone. I'm Antti Jaakkola. I'm working as a technology manager in Ericsson Security Solutions unit. While I have participated in hackathons many times and I have worked in these events with many interesting topics, today I'm going to focus mostly on a single one, telling you how our coding sprint tool got started. The story starts somewhere around 2015 when we had internal coding competition called Coding Olympics. A couple of our colleagues had created this awesome platform that enabled us to organize competition challenges that lasted for a couple of hours, a relatively long time. You got the quite challenging, actually, exercise instructions from the tool, used your own environment for developing your solution, and then sent your code back to the tool that scored your submission. It was great fun and worked super well for its purpose. However, with a couple of friends, we started to think if this could be developed a bit further and used also in different purposes. If we integrated simple web-based coding editor to the tool and included more exercises, also very simple ones that most of the participants could solve, and use time limitation to restrict how long a single competitor could use time for challenges. It could be also used in external events with a lot of people for fun competition, and also to find future colleagues from recruitment events. So we used a couple of hackathon events to develop this concept from idea to reality. We collaborated with many great colleagues from Ericsson with whom we did not have possibility to work with in our daily work. In addition to coders, we had also other at least as important skills in our group, from user experience designers, exercise designing, and of course also test users. With great support from colleagues and powered by snacks, pizza, and a couple of planning sessions in sauna, we were able to implement the first iteration of the coding sprint to be used in Talent IT recruitment event. And it has turned out to be a great success many times. Many people have mentioned to us that they wouldn't have considered Ericsson as a software development company without the coding sprint. And we've been lucky enough to get many great colleagues and friends because of the work that has been done in hackathons. The fact that in addition to great fun and getting to know new great people working in Ericsson, the project has been successful and given benefits for the whole Ericsson Finland community makes me feel especially good and proud about this project. This was my story. I hope you found it inspiring and motivating. Thank you.
Thank you, Antti. Our developers have been participating to external hackathons as well, besides the internal ones, and have been even winning them. In 2018, we decided that besides organizing our internal hackathons, we want to participate in organizing hackathons externally, and we partnered with Junction, Europe's leading hackathon, for the first time. Kushman will now share a story of our participation to the Junction for the second time. Please.
Hi everyone, my name is Guzman and I've been working in Ericsson as a software developer for 7 years. During this time, I participated in many hackathons, but I'm here to tell you about the year 2019 when we got to participate in Junction as a company, as Outi said. I will focus in the hackathons preparations which we had to do, which actually felt like a hackathon to us Ericsson employees. So what did we have to prepare? Basically, in order to participate in Junction as a company, you need to prepare a challenge for the participants so that they solve it during their own participation in Junction during the weekend. We needed a challenge that was interesting and fun so that it would be attractive to them. And also it would have to be related to Ericsson, of course, and relevant to society. So we had to come up with a good idea and prepare everything for the participants to solve the challenge. And we entered what I call the slow hackathon. And I call it slow hackathon because we had a couple of months ahead of us and this goal of making the challenge, but we had no idea how to achieve it. And we also had to do our normal work at the same time. So we only had a few hours per week to work in these preparations, so it was kind of slow. But the first thing we had to do was brainstorming, like in any hackathon. We had to figure out a project that was interesting, fun, related to Ericsson and relevant to society. And in my opinion, this was the hardest part. We did a lot of brainstorming, we discussed a lot of ideas. And finally, we arrived to the idea of having a kind of a virtual city with streets, people, and self-driving cars. And participants would have to make a program that drives cars around, picking and dropping people. So kind of like carpooling, so that they reach their destinations in the most efficient way. This is interesting and fun. And it's also relevant to Ericsson because 5G would enable the cars to be driven in real time. And it's also relevant to society because driving in the most efficient way saves energy. So after we had the idea, we started to code. And sometimes we were even using the mob programming, which is where one person is coding and the rest are looking at the screen and suggesting ideas or finding mistakes. Or yeah, so we were coding, and then sometimes we were realizing that it's just not working. We had to change our approach. We were coding again and erasing everything. At some point, we just rewrote everything from scratch. But with this iteration, we were progressing, and suddenly we were already very close to the junction weekend. So we were in a big rush, like in every hackathon. In the meanwhile, of course, we had to do all the preparations related to the fact that we were a company participating there, like write the challenge descriptions for the junction webpage, listen to the briefings, preparing the logistics, etc. But then the hackathon day finally arrived. And the first thing we did was introduce our challenge to the public. And we were very happy because the challenge was a success. Many teams were interested, and they came to our stand to check it out. That's what you see there in the picture. And then when they chose our challenge, the teams which chose it, we introduced it in detail to them. And after that, they started to hack, actually. So the hackathon started for them. Then, of course, they had a lot of questions and a lot of comments, and they made us notice some problems with our challenge, with our own code that we had to fix. So during the junction itself, we were improving our code and making fixes. We were working all through the 2 days, even during the night. But then the final day finally arrived, and it was time to choose a winner. And we did it by having the programs. So each team made a program, and we put all of them together so that they would compete against each other. And we did 3 rounds, and the team which got the most points would win the challenge. So we prepared the setup. When they were all ready, we started the competition, crossing our fingers that everything would go fine. And they started the programs, everything went fine, and we did the 3 rounds, and we had a clear winner that beat all of the other teams in all the rounds. So all in all, this was very fun because we got to work with different colleagues. We learned a different programming language. We felt like we were in a hackathon mode for months. And then we enjoyed the junction weekend very much. We met a lot of people there. And yeah, this was awesome. I really recommend everyone to participate in a hackathon whenever you have the chance. Thanks.
Thank you, Guzman. At Ericsson, we actually call these events hackathons/non-hackathons. Not all of us code, and so to make it possible for all employees to participate to these marvelous events, we decided to call them also non-hackathons or non-coding hackathons. To put it simply, the only difference is that implementing a hackathon idea requires coding and implementing a non-hackathon idea does not. Most of the participants still code, of course. However, some of the participants improve ways of working, design new team building activities, for example. This format is so intriguing, we have had even leadership teams participating. Päivi, would you like to tell a bit more about our common participation in a non-hackathon?
Definitely. Thank you, Outi. So my name is Päivi, and I have a long life at Ericsson. And the last 20 years, I have worked in different type of communication roles. Like Outi mentioned, we invented the non-hackathons so that us, people who don't code, would also have the possibility to join hackathons, people like me. Well, I might have done some HTML coding when editing newsletter templates with crappy editors, but that's about it. That's all my coding experience. Why then? Why did I wanted to join our hackathon session? Well, first of all, we had a challenge. We have had middle school children from 7th to 9th grade joining us to do their TED training for a week or two. In Finnish, it's called työelämään tutustumisjakso, where this abbreviation TED comes from. Purpose of the TED training is to get a sneak peek to work life by working in a company or other employer. Usually, these teenagers would join us with a very short notice, and then you would need to find out very quickly some reasonable work tasks that a teenager of 13 to 16 years old without any work experience could do. So how to solve the problem? I decided to join a team that was planning to work on the TED topic during the hackathon. We all had a common vision. We wanted to make the induction of the TED trainees easier for us, first of all, and then on the other hand, make the training time at Ericsson a great experience, so that they would, that the teenagers would have also a great memory when from their time with us. So what did we do in practice? First, we ideated around the possible work tasks in different areas. We considered the skills that a TED trainee would need to have so that she or he could work with us. We also thought about the diversity and attracting girls to do the training at Ericsson, how we might be able to inspire girls and get them interested in ICT as a possibility for a profession in the future. After the ideation, we created a process, how to do the induction, how to mentor the trainees, and how to keep them busy during a week or 2 weeks. As a summary, I would say that it's so much easier and more productive to work on a special topic like this TED thing during a hackathon. In a hackathon, you can concentrate on your topic for 28 hours if you want to work over the night, or 2 work days or similar, and work with like-minded people. And it's really fun. So that was my story.
Thanks, Päivi. In 2014, we started enhancing the learning aspect of the hackathons and decided to offer learning sessions throughout the 28 hours of the event. It turned out that the employees usually participating to the hackathons were asked to teach others. So we couldn't have the hackathon at all. But we did have our first ever learnathon instead. A learnathon is a community-driven event where people with common interests gather together to share their knowledge and learn from each other. Participants themselves define what they want to learn and what they want to share. The goal is to get the 2 types of people to meet, the ones with specific need and the ones with the matching knowledge. As you can see from the picture, in 2016, we decided to arrange an open learnathon, meaning that we invited external partners to join this learning marathon, to share their knowledge, to learn from each other, and to meet new people. Nowadays, many of the non-hackathon participants use the event for learning. And of course, also all the hackathon participants learn while they are hacking. They try out new tools, new open source components, and new ways of doing things, for instance. Now it's time to hear about Jani's experience when it comes to learning aspect of the hackathons. Please, Jani.
Oh, hello, my name is Jani and I'm a software developer. So even for security-related things, the hackathons do not have to be only coding events. There can be more emphasis on learning. As an example, threat modeling or finding out what security risks a system might have. It sounds a difficult task that requires really experienced security gurus. However, we tried to do that with a card game called Elevation of Privilege. And we found out that by playing the game, any developer can easily participate in the threat modeling and provide useful contribution as well. In this picture, you can see some of those any developers. That's our team playing the game. The basic mechanics of the game are quite simple. You have a deck of cards and maybe a diagram of your system in front of you. In the next slide, we see some examples of the cards. The suits are not the ones from normal card deck. They represent 6 different types of threats. The cards are dealt to the players. You play a card from your hand which you think is a possible threat to the system. Next player plays a card from the same suit. Highest card from the round get points, and so on. Of course, after every card is played, the players should discuss briefly if the suggested threat isn't possible or not. And if it's possible, it's written down and checked later in more detail. I recall that from our game session where only some of us were coders and none of us was actually a security expert, we did get a couple of real findings that needed more analysis. It was also a fun session, and we learned to look at our system from many new angles. Thank you.
Thanks, Jani. Our hackathon culture includes, of course, also real hacking, meaning that we are organizing as well internal pen test or penetration test hackathons. Holger, would you tell more?
Sure, thank you, Oti. Yeah, well, briefly, just about myself. I'm Holger Offermann. I'm working as section manager at Ericsson Security Solutions here in Finland, and where we do 2 different security products, the Ericsson Security Manager and the Device Security Enabler. So basically 2 products that must be secure already by default. I'm just 3.5 years at Ericsson, but I'm more than 30 years in this business. Yeah, but let's talk about penetration testing, pen testing. Basically another flavor of the hackathon that we have been running, where we simulate basically attacks to find weak, strong points in a system. But this all, of course, in an environment where it is authorized, where everyone is informed, everything is agreed. It is not illegal. So it's basically ethical. That's why it's also called ethical hacking. And in recent years, we have been running various setups, some just internal, totally internal, covered from the outside, as well as some external setups where we have had participants from other companies, from the University of Oulu, for example, where we sponsored those events to do such pen testing events on a larger scale. And we have prepared always those setups with products where we are totally isolated from customers. We don't do any harm. We develop or deploy actually systems in a sandbox where it's clear to everyone. You can do whatever you want. You will not do any harm, do any damage to anyone. I think that's a very important fact that people get that in their mind, that they also get encouraged to be brave, to try something out. So the setups were always very product specific, but we also had then a very specific setup for the product as such to support everyone that was willing to join. So when we think about this, the slide basically where we see the dark hoodies, hacking might be perceived as a lonely business, but actually this kind as a hackathon, penetration testing in a hackathon is a teamwork, is a learning event, is a sharing event, and a playful event. When we had the internal setups, we did do it in one room all together, 10 people, 30 people, just to get also different level of expertise together and encourage especially people that were new to this business to learn something, to try something out, just bring ideas on board. And at the end, well, it's about searching for backdoors, finding undocumented, forgotten features, and this all in an open discussion, and that's inspired by the product, supported from them to see what can be done, what shouldn't be done. What could be in reality, of course, happening with a hacker from the outside world. But yeah, this was, as said, in a very safe environment. So the goal was that people really are clear about it. Do something, whatever you think makes sense. There's a very low threshold to join, succeed. We provided ideas, hints, very important for the newcomers. Since we have had then always participants with totally different backgrounds and level of expertise, newcomers, but also people with many years of deep knowledge that they were then willing to share. So it was a learning together in all directions. And of course, a very important part is time. So we have had hackathons over days or at least 24 hours that you could really find enough time to discuss, to brainstorm together, to think about what could you do next to break into a system. Yeah, and these results, or these events resulted across the scale into deeper knowledge about what means security for a system. It builds knowledge for the developers, for the participants, that they realize how important it is, create also this mindset, what is secure development for a system, for a product that might be then at the end attacked in the real world by hackers from the outside. So it was not only beneficial for the participants, but as well very important for the product as such, for the product development as such. So it helped us always to improve also the security level of the system, since all the findings were reported and then of course fixed and solved going forward. But nevertheless, at the end, most important, it was lots of fun. So from pizza, from drinks, and staying over the night, it has been always some interesting approach to meet up with people having the same interest, learning from each other, and trying to break into a system that should not be breakable. I'm looking forward that we have next year the next pen testing event coming up, and I hope that you might get a bit interested about it, and heaven knows where we join one day again such an event. That was all about penetration testing. Thank you.
Thank you, Holger. As with the traditional hackathons, as Holger mentioned, also on the pentest side, we have moved forward too, as we have partnered together with others to organize the 5G cybersecurity hackathons, external pentest hackathons, for 2 years in a row now. But besides pen testing, we use hackathons for actual testing. Would you tell more about this, Raquel?
Sure, Outi, thank you. Hi, my name is Raquel, and I'm a security specialist. Hackathon is a place to learn and meet new people. Everybody can contribute. You don't need to be an IT person to be in the hackathons. Besides, nowadays, there are a lot of tools that help you to develop and test your application. There are great tutorials in the internet also, and for free, most of them. We need all the skills in the hackathon, and mainly a team with motivated people. Let me tell you about my previous hackathon. We wanted to improve an application. Then great, we had an idea for the hackathon. The first challenge I faced was to find the team members. We were 2 for a big project, and we knew that 2 persons were not enough. At first, I contacted my closest friends and colleagues advertising about the project, trying to recruit them. And I also pitched my idea to the whole organization, and it was scary. Actually, we did get a good team. When the team met in the morning, it took some time to think about the project. We knew what we wanted as a final project, but we didn't know how to get there or what comes first. We started splitting the project into small parts and deciding who does what. Actually, this took a good amount of time, and we had someone in the end just to orchestrate the project, a project manager. We had part of the team developing, part testing, and the project manager. Personally, I think that's important to do what you like, or you can do what challenges you. I was in the test or verification part. That's the area that I most like, the troubleshooting part. I do really like to find bugs. I find fascinating about the infinite possibilities to test an application. You have to ask, what if? How do you know that what you developed is working as it should? Or could be used to a different purpose that actually was not intended to? Is it secure? Can be broken? You have to ask, really? Are you sure? Example, what happens if instead you enter 1 digit number, I enter with 1000 digits? What if? Always ask, what if? We need a team to think about all these what if. And even better if we have a team brainstorming it. We need people to verify the application like the real users will do. Testing is about thinking out of the box, being curious, ethical, and playing by the rules. In the end, it was really rewarding when we saw the application work. It was a big project that requires more than one hackathon to finalize. Maybe I'm lucky that in the next hackathon you can join our team. Never give up. Yeah, that was my story. Back to you, Oti. Thank you.
Thanks, Raquel. Let's then check still some more experiments that we have done throughout the years. In 2016, we wanted to get the business side of the company more involved in our hackathon culture. We therefore decided to try out a Shark Tank approach, hacking on real challenges that we and our customers have. The challenges were pitched by the sharks, our product managers, to the hackers. While preparing for the hackathon, the teams got to present their ideas to the sharks. Each team gave an elevator pitch, after which the sharks and the rest of the audience had a chance to ask questions and give feedback. In the course of the hackathon, teams worked hard to get ready for the demo session with the sharks. At demo time, as always, it was amazing to see how much could be achieved in such a short period of time if you're able to fully concentrate on something. Our first Shark Tank hackathon has probably been the most successful hackathon so far, as several of the ideas are now in production. In our hackathons, we have a theme and challenges. Still, the theme and the challenges are there only to inspire. So an idea doesn't need to be connected to the theme nor to the challenges to participate in a hackathon. You can participate with any idea, anything you are passionate about. Besides inspiration, we use the theme to guide us towards the hackathon, meaning that we usually arrange several tech talks, hands-on sessions, and other inspirational events related to the theme before the actual hacking starts. One of the most memorable themes was related to the gaming. In 2014, we wanted to learn from the gaming industry to get new insights how to do things. First, we had external tech talks on both board games and mobile games. Thereafter, people wanted to learn about gaming algorithms, so we had an internal tech talk about it. As conveniently, we had an in-house expert on this topic. After the tech talks, further training was proposed, and the request was an introduction to the most commonly used software tools and practices in the gaming industry. Thus, we still had a Unity tutorial, a hands-on session before the hackathon. But the greatest thing of all was our game jam, a game-playing event. One part of our old factory building was transformed into a huge gaming arena. We had both old and new video games. You could as well play traditional board games, table tennis, football, table hockey, and much more. You could even be a rock star in a rock band club with sound and light enforcement, as you can see in the picture. Hacking is, of course, not the only thing we do during the hackathons. The social aspect of them is also extremely important. So besides hacking, we also spend time together. As many of us have already mentioned, we eat pizza and snacks. We play table tennis, football, and guitar. And, well, as Antti said, as we are in Finland, many go to sauna, of course. And some of us do not even want to leave the office to get some sleep during the night. But it is really important to remember to rest at least a bit also during a hackathon. All the pictures we have shared so far are from the face-to-face hackathons, but those we have not had lately, of course. At Ericsson Global Hackathons, the participating offices have always been connected by a video session throughout the event. And we have had common sessions during the hackathons, like the kickoff, for example. In April 2020, we took this to a whole new level and organized the first ever company-wide fully virtual hackathon. The one thing that having a fully virtual hackathon contributed to was the number of cross-country teams, which was far higher than ever before. For example, in the team that is in the picture, there are members from 3 different offices, but there have been even teams with participants from 6 different countries, which is just amazing. So we have been growing our hackathon culture. We had the traditional hackathons as a starting point, and we have been experimenting with different approaches since then. And oh boy, how our hackathon culture has grown. Let's see what we come up with next. How can we evolve even more? There most probably will be many new experiments coming up. As said, hackathons give us time to innovate, experiment, concentrate, and learn. Hackathons give us endless possibilities to do things we are passionate about with like-minded people. And this is when magic happens. But now it's time for reflections, feedback, comments, questions. It's time to speak up. Ja kysymyksiä voi siis kysyä ihan suomeksi myös, niin kuin Päivi jo sanoikin tuolla chatissa. Any questions or comments? You can write to the chat or just speak up, unmute and speak up. Anybody? I think this is perhaps more to, if you mean Mimmit Koodaa, I don't know the plans, but I know Sanna is here, so she can perhaps share if there are plans for Mimmit Koodaa to have more hackathons during the rest of the year.
On Mimmit Koodaa, we have some plans, but we are looking for a partner which help us. So I don't know sure. How about you, Ericsson?
We need to consider, but no plans currently. Let's see. Then there's a question if there is any application in the company from the result of the hackathon. Well, I think we saw Antti's coding challenge tool that have been used in talent IT and similar recruitment affairs, and actually also in the junction, so that the hackers joining the junction could try out their coding skills and participate to this to our coding challenge. And of course, many of the things that our developers are working for are related to the everyday business, so they become part of the products and the services that we are offering to our customers. So yes, indeed. Any other questions? In Finnish or in English? Doesn't sound like it. I hope that the emoji that you would choose now would still look as happy as the emojis that you chose before we started. But I would like to thank you for being here with us, and I hope to meet you at some point of time in some other sessions. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.